Okay, we have to determine whether or not these are parallelograms based on the given information. On this on this quadrilateral, we have a set of parallel sides and another set of parallel sides. So this is a parallelogram because you have two sets of opposite sides parallel. On this one, we have two sets of opposite sides that are congruent. So this is a parallelogram. Two sets of opposite sides are congruent. Over here, we see 125 and 125, which makes opposite angles equal. And we have another set of opposite angles equal. So this is also a parallelogram. Two sets of opposite angles are congruent. Over here, on this quadrilateral, we have one set of sides that is parallel, and the same set of sides is congruent. So this is also a parallelogram. One set of sides is both parallel and congruent. Over here, we only know that one set of sides is parallel, so the only thing we can conclude is that it is a trapezoid, so we can say this is not a parallelogram. Only one set of sides is parallel. And over here, this quadrilateral shows that the diagonals are bisected. So if the diagonals are bisected, that is sufficient enough to prove that it is a parallelogram. So yes, this quadrilateral is a parallelogram because both diagonals bisect each other. Okay, over here in 1 through 4, we have to identify the figure by name, so that's the important part. Identify them by name and then decide on what the angle measures are based on what shape it is. So on this one, we know it's a parallelogram because opposite sides are equal, and since all four sides are equal, this is actually a rhombus. So what I like to do when I know it's a rhombus, I know that the diagonals are perpendicular, so automatically I will draw in these right angles. So we have right angles for the diagonals because they are perpendicular. So let's see, this is a 30-degree angle. So this is also 30 because in a rhombus, the diagonal bisects its angles. So these angles are 30 and opposite angles are equal. So this has to be 30 and this has to be 30 as well. Now to get angle 2, we can just look at this right triangle. Since this is a 90-degree angle, this is a 30-degree angle, angle 2 has to be an angle that makes all three angles add up to 180 degrees. So since 90 and 30 and 60 add up to 180, angle 2 is 60. And also, since the diagonal bisects its angle, this angle 1 is also 60 degrees. So angle 1 is 60 and angle 2 is also 60 degrees. Okay, over here, the only thing we know is that we have opposite sides parallel. So this is a parallelogram. That's the most we can say it is. So we're going to label it as a parallelogram. And we know that opposite angles are congruent in a parallelogram. So angle 1 is going to measure 130 degrees. So we can fill that in. And angle 2, since these lines are parallel, I can trace them and I see I have a Z. These are alternate interiors. So alternate interior angles are equal. So angle 2 is also 35 degrees. Okay, and number 3, we know that we have a pair of sides equal, and we have the opposite sides that are parallel. So it's not a parallelogram because these would have to be the same sides that are parallel and congruent. So this is called an isosceles trapezoid. Okay, so this is an isosceles trapezoid. In an isosceles trapezoid, the base angles are equal. So angle 1 is the same as 107. So we can fill in 107 degrees here. And then angle 2 has to be equal to this angle over here. But we also know that these are parallel, and if you trace them, they form this U or this backwards C, and they are same side interiors. So we can get angle 2 by doing 180 minus 107, which is going to be 73 degrees. And finally, we have a parallelogram because opposite sides are equal, but it's a parallelogram with one 90-degree angle, and since it has a 90-degree angle, we can say that this is a rectangle. So if we have a rectangle, we know these angles all are 90 degrees. So we can get angle 2 by subtracting 32 from 90. So 90 minus 32 will give us 58 degrees. So that's 58 degrees. And then we can do, to get angle 1, a triangle has to add up to 180. Or we can do alternate interiors because these sides are also parallel. So angle 2 would be equal to angle 1, so that is also 58 degrees.